Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of the Adventures of Uber Dad. In this, I'm going to be following up on what I talked about in video 4, which was essentially how you get started driving for Uber once you have the app and you're ready to go out on the road and pick somebody up. The most important part of the ride, besides getting somebody from point A to point B, is the experience in riding in the car. Now, the hardest part for me when I was starting up was wondering, what are people going to be like? Do they want to talk to you? Do they not want to talk to you? Are they going to sit in the front of your car? Are they going to sit in the back of your car? Generally, there's no straight answer for anything. You can't answer it all in one. It really depends on the people that you get in your car, the time of day, where people are going, whether or not they're in couples or groups. But for the most part, I find that I generally tend to do a lot of driving in the morning where I'm getting people going on commutes. And these are people that are traveling singly, going from one place to the other. In those cases, the way I handle it is generally I'll give people a sturdy good morning, or how you doing, or good evening if it's in the evening. And you'll know right away if people want to talk. Generally, somebody will get in, they'll give you a nice greeting back, and you can kind of get the vibe right there whether or not they want to keep talking. If they come in and they have obvious cues that they don't want to talk, you'll know it. Sometimes I'll come in and they'll ask, like, do you have the radio going, or could you turn it on? Sometimes I'll come in with headphones, or they'll be texting and obviously involved in whatever it is that they're doing. In those cases, it's pretty easy to read and you just let it go. If people sit up in the front seat, which happens maybe one out of every 20, 25 times, these people are generally very communicative. They like to make the Uber experience much more like driving with a friend. They'll generally start a conversation, and all you have to do is listen and be friendly. If they're in the back seat, it's a little more difficult because your eyes are on the road. It's a little difficult to see who you're talking to. So it's a little bit of the taxi cab experience where you can throw out a few verbal introductions, see if they bite. If they don't bite, generally they want to be left alone. But I would say that about 85 to 90% of the time, the people generally enjoy having a conversation. And it can be about anything. You know, if they're coming out of a popular tourist destination, you can ask them if they're visiting in town. If they're going to the airport, you can ask them where they're going. If they're dressed for a meeting or off to work, you can sometimes ask them, what do you mind asking if I ask what you do? Or how do you enjoy driving Uber? All of these things are basically up to you, and you just have to read the person as best as you can. And I generally find that most people are very friendly. If Twitter reveals the evil that's in men's hearts when they don't have to deal with people face to face, I find that driving Uber reveals that most people are generally good. I've had some very, very strange people hop in my car as I drive in Los Angeles. And initially, these would be the kind of people that you would never stop and talk to on the street. But once you get them in a car and you find that common root of conversation, I find that most people generally like to talk, and most people are generally good and very friendly. They just come from different walks of life, and you have to know what it is that you're going to talk to them about. I wouldn't stress it too much. If you want to be quiet and just drive, people appreciate that as well. If people try to have a conversation with you, just do your best to answer the questions. Generally, people like to talk a lot about what it's like to drive for Uber and whatnot. One caveat to these things is that if you drive in the evenings, you are going to be introducing the factor of alcohol and people going out in couples or groups. I have found that once I get past the initial greeting for people coming into the car at night, if it's a couple headed out on a date, unless they inquire, generally these people like to talk to themselves. It's much more like you're a driver in a hired car, and they're going to have their own private conversations, and you're just there to ask them questions about their destination if you have them, and to wish them a good night or a good evening. If it's a group, sometimes they'll be talkative, sometimes they won't. So you just be friendly with them and kind of follow their lead. And as you get later in the evening, you are going to find that people get increasingly drunk, particularly if it's on the weekends. Oftentimes, these people have conversations with you that you don't necessarily want to have. You have to manage that as best as you can. Sometimes talking to these people is the best way to keep them under control. Sometimes you have to stay to your business and just kind of get them from point A to point B and manage it as best as you can. It's honestly not my favorite thing to drive on a Friday or a Saturday night. You do get a lot of people as the night goes progressively out. They get a little bit more drunk, and a little bit more harder to manage. There's other considerations you have to take into your car, in case people get sick. That's a topic I'll cover in a separate video, because that really is something like unto itself. So for the most part, when someone gets in your car, say hello. If they say hello back, talk about something else and see if they bite. If they don't bite, go ahead and drive in silence. And if they come in and they're already involved, just let them go and take them from point A to point B, and only ask them what they need to do, and you'll be just fine. If you have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me. You can reach me at uberdad.la@gmail.com. Likewise, if you do decide that you want to sign up for Uber and you found these videos helpful, you can go ahead and follow the card link at the top right of the screen, I believe. That'll take you to a page that'll have a link directly into Uber where you can sign up using my referral code, or you'll see the referral code itself, and you can just go to uber.com, select sign up to drive, and when you're going through the process, there'll be a point where it asks you if you have a referral code. Pop that in there, and I'll get paid a little something, and you'll get paid a little something. And then when you're done with the process, you'll get a referral code all of your own. So I appreciate your help. All the best, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Adventures of Uber Dad. Bye bye.